now. Okay, so... Oh, Kvasir, you were actually... Oh, I see. Main chat. This is good info. Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. Okay. So, all of you kind stream goers, if you see someone in my who's in my game who happens to also be in my stream chat, kindly tell them to close the stream so that I can play a nice, lovely game without me worrying about them cheating. So, if you look at my hand... So, remember how I want to play throw or attack, generally. JAINA's best option against that is to queen. I do not want JAINA to get more cards, or I will lose. So, let's see. I'm going to play my 7th throw. I'm going to just sort of bet the farm. Yep, and look, I actually got rid of one of his strongest cards. This is a huge tell about his hand. Because he wanted to build up, and he did not want to block with that 7. That 7 is the key to his late game. This lets him discard the 7 and take 10 damage to rotate his combat card 180 degrees. So, if he uses a attack dodge, like anything from his 2 through his 5, and has 7 backup, and I don't have a counterspell for it, I'm in deep trouble. So, throw 6. This is the first lesson of playing this character. Because you have a hard time converting your damage, do as much damage as possible off of all your options. I only have 3 combo points. So, I have to use a card in order to maximize the damage off my throws. Once I get that opening, I need to exploit it for as much damage as possible. This goes toward accelerating that endgame I was talking about. So I already forced him to use one of his strongest cards because he thought I was going to poke him. So now I can actually say... I don't actually have a great block because I used that, but I'm going to sort of bet that again. Yep, throw again. He blocks again. And already, now look at the difference here. I'm going to be low on cards, but this isn't as huge of a deal. After the draw, I'm going to have 5 cards left. But look at this. He's already down a lot of life. He is down 28 life points from where he started. That is humongous against JAINA. That is a bit over... Now, that is about a third of her life bar. Already in 2 turns. And he's down 2 throws. Now I can block. Yep. Oh, and you see how much of a problem his hand's in now? Because he has to use his 7s to block, that tells me that his hand is not in good shape. He does not have a lot of other blocks. This is a weakness that JAINA has. She has a lot of dodges and very few blocks. Her blocks are on her 7 through 10. She doesn't have a 6 block, that's an attack throw, and she doesn't have a 5 block, that's an attack dodge. So if I can get rid of 2 of them very early, she has a very hard time catching up. Now, yep, going to use the jack. Trying to poke out the throw attempt because he knows I'm going to try to throw that 7. So look, that's the first damage I've taken all game. And by the way, that 2 damage from the block combat. I didn't like the block, but it was there. Whatever. Now, here's something important. 2. I don't need dodges right now. I need access to ace-ace. This makes his options very, very scary. So, I know he doesn't have a queen, because he probably would have used that instead of his jack. He doesn't have very good throw options, because he has a 7, which is nice, but he doesn't have anything else, or he would have used it to block. So that tells me his hand is pretty full with normal attacks and maybe a 6. And he might have another throw, because he's had a couple turns to draw one. But now I can start doing crazy things, because now I have a hand. He has to consider ace-ace. I don't have good throw options, but he doesn't know that. For all he knows, I was blocking for a turn to replenish my hand with just enough cards to power up. So I can start doing crazy things. So first I'm going to just do a pretty low-risk play now. Notice I have 80 life still, and he's now down to 53. I can just do a 6 attack. He dodged. Okay, what's he going to dodge into? I have a feeling that whatever he's going to dodge into isn't going to be very deadly yet. He hasn't powered for aces. If he has 4 kings, well, that sucks, but that's unlikely because we've only been through a very small amount of his deck. His best dodge thing off a dodge, and if it's a queen, it's probably not going to, because he can't buy his queen back with his life bar if he dodges. So his best option is to throw. And if the only throw in his hand is that 7, that is a very awkward dodge. Yeah, see, look, he did dodge 2. I'm not very scared of that. I don't need to bluff away a card. See what I mean? That's a low-risk play. It's like, at the most, I'll probably take 13 damage if he had a queen to pump it with. He'd have to buy it back, and already that's a problem for him. That's 2 life plus the 7 to buy back everything, so that's 9 damage for 13. That's not bad. And given that I'm 27 life points ahead of him, and I haven't let him build back up, that's not awful. So now I'm going to just try that again, because I'm cheeky. Okay, he had 3 this time. So he might actually be able to land a normal string. Let's see what he has. So 3, 4. So he's going to find at least 1 ace. Does he have a 2-point ender? No, he does not. He doesn't have a 6, or he would have used that as well. He's going to buy back all of them. So look, that's 9 damage he's taking, plus the 2 for my passive. So he's taking 11 damage to deal 12 points and get an ace. The ace is the important part there, because on life now it's about the same deficit. He's about 16 points of life down. That last turn where he did a dodge for 2 in exchange for the 2 for my passive, we broke even and he lost a card. So that was pretty bad. And he lost a red 2, which is very nice because it has that 3 points of block damage for later in the game. So now I have to think, though. He has a 7, but he's had time now to draw a throw. So he can and because he bought back the 3, 4, and 5, I know he has a normal attack. He could do 3, 4, 5 ace, or he could do a throw, or he could do a dodge into his ace. So now I have to start thinking about his options to convert his damage. We have reached a middle game now. I did my damage in early game, but unfortunately my deck did not cooperate, so that kind of sucks. So I have to think, okay, I have my aces. That's the cornerstone of my mix-up. I have a feeling, yep, ace. This is a great trade. He used his queen to trade with my ace. He's not allowed to pump it because they clashed. And I'm going to trade 18 damage for 8, possibly for 12 if he buys back his queen. Which he will. And he's going to be 18 life after this exchange. I'm going to be 40 life ahead of him. This is a brutal trade. I used that ace because I thought the mix-up was going to be a normal attack string into ace or a throw into ace. Instead, he played a queen, which gets dominated by the ace that I was already going to do. So, another lesson in Yomi, if you're going to become an intermediate level player at the minimum, is if you know what your opponent's mix-up options are, don't play something that loses to both. I will see a lot of players do that. They'll think, oh, well, I want a normal attack into ace, but he might play ace, and that's really bad for me, so I'll play a queen. Because that's faster and safer, and I'm not committing as much. That's great, but that's not going to win you any games. So throw, because, yep, look, he's forced to do the block with the unstable power to rebuild his hand. And again, this is one of those dominated by what I was going to do anyway. I was reading a dodge. If he did a dodge into ace, or ace pump ace, I can do a counter spell, and counter his unstable power. And then we're back in the same situation, except he lost a 7. So he faced down, and now we're in late game. I don't have to convert my damage anymore. I can just sort of sit, let him below the Joker. He's knocked down, and he has 6 turns to live. This is an awful, awful situation for him, and it all started because of 2 bad mistakes. Because of 2 situations where he played a card that was going to be dominated by both ends of my mix-up. This was a very bad... Now, look, I know he doesn't have any other throws in his hand now. I thought he didn't before. I'm going to check something really quick. So Yep, the sign he played was the 7 of hearts. So he has no other throws left. I can safely assume that. So I don't have to play anything special. Like, I know he has a queen, but he can't buy it back safely. So I can just play my queen. Okay, so I'm going to take 13 damage. This is piddles. I don't really care about it. I don't have to play a bluff card. Okay, pump it if you really want. But if you buy it back, you're going to be even less life. Okay, queen, pump with jack. He cannot buy back either one safely. As you can see, he can't buy back either one because then he'd be at 6. He would be at 4 life after the buyback. This is one of the reasons that ARG is so strong against JAINA. JAINA is strong because late game she can buy back her cards and keep all of her options open. Against ARG late game, she can't do that anymore because she might actually die because of his passive. So again, now, the only danger I have is if he has more than the 2 aces that I know he has. I know he has 2 aces because he's powered up for 2 aces so far. The most damage he can do is something like I don't know. Reasonably, if he drew a throw 6 ace-ace, which is 30 damage. He would still lose life, and he would not get the aces back, so he's back in the same problem that he was in before. He might try to do a normal attack, which is actually conceivable. So if he does a normal, I'm just going to do a jack. Yep. At 2.4, this would beat all of his other normals. If he has another 7, I have 2 counterspells now. He only has 2 7s left, so this is a 1 game. This is a guaranteed force win. Against a dodge, he would play the aces and then be out of luck because he wouldn't have his aces left. The GG, because I'm a nice fellow. But all of now, the reason that was such a good play, all of JAINA's normals are x.6. That means the rank of the card, which is 5 in this case, 0.6. If he had a 2, that still would have lost the jack. The jack is speed 2.4. So, the jack was my strongest play there. If he does a throw into ace-ace, the jack wins the game. If he does a 2 or 3 or any normal into ace-ace, the jack wins the game. If he does a dodge into ace-ace, I don't win the game yet. I think he only has 2 aces. Hang on, I can ask him. But assuming he had the 2 aces, okay, I lose my jack, but I took 19 damage. Okay, so yeah, he did have 2. So yeah, that's 19 damage in exchange for the 2 for my passive, which would now drop him to a pretty low light, so he can't buy back his aces. If he did, he could have been ballsy and just gone for ace by itself, and that would have won. Yep, and you see again, he's talking about how I messed up his hand because I did the early throw a ARG. So, his options at that point were to dodge or to do an ace-ace. And either way, now he's lower on options. And he's, well, again, he's low on life. He doesn't have aces anymore, so his damage isn't scary anymore. So I can just sort of sit back and chill. I can do whatever I want. He has to pretty much knock me down every turn or he's going to lose. And since he doesn't have throws anymore, I know he can't do that. So I can literally just sort of sit on my 5 block and wait. And he has to hope he gets a better hand. So pretty easy win. Going to rematch same character. So now he has to consider, oh, his range includes first turn throw too. In addition to the early attacks I was talking about. So the third crazy level is I got a turn 1 bubble shield. So if he tries to poke out a queen, I think he might have gotten lucky and drawn a queen at first, which would dominate my attack throw I was talking about. And from talking, he knows I'll do a poke on the first turn, and from playing, he knows I'll do a throw on the first turn. So that's the range I've established. Because I've established a range, I can do something like that. Look, like that. Because I established my ranged attack throw, he's going to be cheeky and do an attack on the first turn. Because that will possibly beat both options. That is where you throw out a surprise turn. This is the only time a surprise turn 1 bubble shield is actually a surprise and actually works, once you establish your other 2 options. So now, he's already in the worst situation he can possibly be in. He has to blow very strong cards in order to get me on my bubble, and I can do whatever I want. So now he has no idea what I'm going to do. I can actually just do this. I'm going to play queen. Why? Because I can. And because it's not going to be very useful later. Look, he had to blow a queen just to do no damage. And if he buys back that queen, he's still going to have done no damage. Take 4 for buying back the queen. Take 2 from my passive. Oh, that 1 ace was worth so much. Worth the 13 damage it prevented from the queen. Worth the 2 damage extra add on my passive. So, already, and the 4 from the forced buyback of the queen, I wouldn't have played otherwise. So that was worth 15 damage. That was 1 ace for 15 damage. That's very, very good. So again, he now has no idea what my range is going to be, and I know he has a queen. So I'm going to be a little more careful. I kind of want to throw. Oh, what do you know? I wanted to do it against his queen, so he plays a slower card. The slower card gets dominated. I'm going to take 3 points of damage. He's going to take 3 points of damage, so we break even on that trade, and I'm going to have my ace back. He probably was not expecting that. So now he's like, I know he has a queen. So he's probably going to throw now. If I had to put a bead into his mind. Oh, he's going to block. That's like the worst thing you can do against ARG and Bubble Shield. Because you want to get him out as soon as possible. The longer that's on there, the more value I get out of it. So he's having a problem now. He has to get me out of Bubble Shield. And he has to get me out soon. The stronger option there would have been to dodge. JAINA has a lot of dodges. She doesn't have a whole lot of blocks. So I can go dodge. Against, again, an expected queen. He does it too. They have exactly the same payoff. I'm taking no damage either way. The queen is faster. So the queen is objectively better. And I know he has a queen. So like, okay, he face downs. I'm going to just do a throw. Okay, it was a joker, but I want to knock him down. I want to remove that option of dodging from his head. I want to make it impossible from dodge. So keep in mind, that's another turn of Bubble Shield. So it's gotten more value already. So I'm trying to establish that he can throw me. Look at what I've done. I did a queen to start. I did a queen, but then I did a dodge. And I'm trying to establish I'm playing around his queen. He's knocked down. He has to throw or queen. He can no longer dodge, and blocking is a bad idea. So I'm trying to establish, go ahead and throw. I'm going to 7 throw here. Because if he doesn't use... Now he has a choice. Do you use the 7 to try to outthrow me? Or do you try to use a slower throw? If you use a slower throw, I win. If you use an attack, I'm not getting knocked down, and I'm not taking damage. Look, he did a slower throw because he didn't want to use a 7, or he might not have had a 7. Because I established that he should be throwing me, that 7 throw worked. And again, he's in a really bad spot. I'm going to get an extra turn of this Bubble Shield, and that's going to be very useful. Okay, going to keep him knocked down. The knockdown is, again, trying to establish throw, trying to remove the option of dodging from his range completely. And if he wants to bluff cards away, he's now wasting cards. Look at the life total again. You see how that dominance of the early game has translated into a crippling advantage. He is at 40 life down. He is almost halfway through his life bar. The only damage I've taken was blocking a 2. So now he's going to think he's no longer playing around my queen. So I'm going to queen, and it's going to look cool. And if I'm wrong, again, the payoff is not very much for him. I'm not taking damage. Okay, so he did throw again. He has to use one of his best throws. Remember, the only throw that will beat his 8 throws on my end's my 7 throw. He has to use this just to get me a Bubble Shield. He can't use it to convert into a giant ace combo, which is what he wants to do with it. He wanted to use it to deal 31 damage or 32 damage to me. Instead, he sort of has to sit back and be like, well, at least he's not doing 2 more damage a turn. At least he doesn't have this really annoying shield up. So he's going to... Okay, so he's going to ace search. Again, now he's losing those cards. He cannot buy them back. I'm not getting knocked down, which I feel like would have been the smarter thing, is to knock me down. He's going to assume I don't have aces anymore. So now he's no longer playing around that threat, which is smart. Now look, though. Again, I have a counterspell in case he has his 7. And because he had to use 2 pretty damn good throws just to try to get me a Bubble Shield, my throws have been opened up a little bit. My attacks aren't as good anymore, so I'm playing around queen dodge. That's my current range. I'm going to assume a dodge here. He's very scared of playing his queen right now. Yep, slow throw. Again, it's playing against a range that I'm already going to beat. This is a common mistake. He's currently student level JAINA, so I'm not very surprised. So now I'm good. Look, same deal. Can waste a card, remove dodging from his range. His only option now, because he's gotten rid of 3 of his throws, he did not want 9 throw. He wanted to do a faster throw, but I'm guessing that's the only one he had left. So now look, his option now is pretty much queen. That's it. I'm going to dodge. Oh, he had another throw. That's good for him. Again, like, if he has... I'm just not going to face down. Look at the life total. This is kind of sad to look at. Okay, ace-ace. Just ace-ace. Just going to do it. 25 damage. Loses the aces. He has to power back up for them. Until then, his damage is pretty gone. So yeah, that's an ace of diamonds and ace of clubs. The aces he found were an ace of spades. Oh, he made a mistake. An ace of spades. He has at least 1 more ace left. Okay. So I have to play around aces again. Ooh, this is interesting. And now, here's the funny thing. Since he's no longer knocked down now, dodge or queen is again what I'm playing around. So, 8th throw. because he lost his. Remember, he lost some of his normals when he blew up my bubble shield. If you look at his discard, yeah, it's like 2 is gone, 2 is gone, 3 is gone, 4 is gone, 4 is gone, 5 is gone. 2 aces are gone, but he has 1 in his hand. Okay, lost the queen. But here's again, this is where the trade is important. So watch, he's going to pump the queen, because he might as well. Well, he's not going to pump it, and he's not going to burn. Now look, he's trading 8 for 2 this time, but now he lost his queen. I no longer had to, I don't, okay, so again, that's the queen of spades they revealed. So this is something else important to look at. You look at what suits you've played. Do not give me information that I didn't already have. Queen of spades they played earlier. So we know that was the queen in his hand from earlier. Okay. So, again, okay. We know he has aces left. We know he doesn't have very many throws left, so I can actually kind of block safely if I wanted to. Let's do that. Yep, okay, blocks a king. I didn't really want to block. If he played a naked ace or queen, that's why I didn't play my other attacks. Look, I just traded 3 points of damage for 6. That's a really good trade for me. Now I can go 5s, find a ace. Now, I like kings normally. They're situationally useful if you're forced to be defensive because they let you turn your 2 into a lot of damage. Your 2 is very good defensively because if you're knocked down, it beats most mix-up normals. But I don't need them right now because I have a pretty hefty life lead. Or I had one, I just noticed it sort of melted away. But I still have a life lead. I know he's playing around, so I'm going to establish that ace-ace mix-up game again. So he has to think, okay, what can I do to try to beat the aces? I can throw. I can block. I can dodge. Block or dodge is probably the safe option against aces. It's also the worst one because it does nothing if I ace block. So, I'm going to throw again. Ooh! That is actually a very good card for JAINA to use. I'm not sure if he knows why yet. If I don't know how much he values 6s in this matchup, I usually assume he doesn't. Here's why 6 is strong against ARG. Notice how it's an attack throw. Against an ace mix-up, that's very good. If I played ace-ace, well, okay, whatever. But if he leads with the 6th throw, that's actually pretty good. Maybe not against ace mix in particular, but if I use a faster throw than 8.6, he can flip it to the 6 to beat it. If he runs into a bubble shield, which I want to use, great, it wins. The only thing it really loses to is ace-ace. That is the only reliable option that does enough damage to dissuade him from using it. Oh, this is going to hurt. This is why he bought back the king. Okay, so he has a single ace in his hand. That's the last piece of information I needed. Buys back his big damage, but look at his life total now. This is where it starts getting dangerous. He has 1 ace left in his hand. We know he has an ace and 2 kings. So his hand right now is ace, king, king, 4 things that we don't know about. Knowing JAINA's normal deck distribution, it's pretty likely that at least a couple of those cards are dodges. He didn't buy back the 6. He wants me to ace-ace, I think. Gonna do it. Let's do it. Yes! Okay. Now, if he has a 7, he has to burn it to not die. He can flip... Oh, he doesn't... No 7? Yep, okay. So the reason I ace-ace is because it covers the most options on his range. If I feel like he has a lot of dodges, then the aces are dangerous. But if I feel like he's trying to fish for damage in that last ace... One sec. Just a little bit of post-game chat. So yeah, this is probably going to get on his nerves a little bit. This is part of Hand Management 101, is you don't give your opponent more information. than they should have. Oh, this is going to be funny. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm also going to be taking some of this stream video and I'm going to be uploading it to YouTube. So I'm going to be on my channel. You can follow it as well, Mad King Crimson, all one word. I do appreciate anyone who's been watching this stream. All 0 of you. Nice. That's awfully mean of you guys. Yeah, so when I bluffed... Okay, so if I bluffed successfully, if that was a joker against his kings, he was dead. He needed those kings for damage. He wanted to throw king, king, something would have killed me. So that's why he did the throw there. Because I knew he had kings and ace, so that was his other source of damage. But again, this is a theme I touched on with ARG. You notice the transition of the game. Early game, I win. Straight up. I had 82 life points left. I lost 3 points of life. He had lost 40 points of life. That's a huge difference, because I'm playing again around JAINA's really bad early game. The middle game, JAINA gets her faster throws, and she gets her kings, and she gets better access to her queens, so she has an advantage, because she has a speed advantage, and you saw me chunk out some life, because now my bad guesses are pretty badly punished. Late game, which you saw, it wasn't really a late game. It was mostly, oh, he has less than 20 life, I can ace-ace. And if I'm wrong in the ace-ace, well, he has a single ace, or he has 2 kings, and he's not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage to me. And if he buys them back, he's in a bad situation. If he doesn't buy them back, he has less damage left, and I can sort of chill. And that's how ARG works. You have to recognize where the game is flowing to. The Bruce Lee quote, water can crash or it can flow, applies very much with ARG, and I'm pretty sure that was intentional with his deck design. I don't think when David Serlin designed ARG, he intended to be an aggressive sort of character, but I believe in the case of ARG, water should usually crash. So I'm going to go for one more. Same matchup, I'm guessing. I don't think he's playing any other characters besides JAINA. Gonna check, see if there are any ghosts in my stream. Nope, no one's watching yet. Makes me upset. Okay, yep, same matchup. Okay, so now, again, the one part of the range I haven't done yet is attack. So he's going to assume attack and probably turtle up and block. So this is a free little cheeky 9 throw. Against the reliable parts of his range, first turn throw is very strong against JAINA. If he throws me early, he's wasting his good throws for mid-game. If he blocks early, he sort of has to, so that's going to lose the throw. And if he attacks early, he's not going to hurt me. He needs something like a jack or a queen very early to dissuade me from first turn throw. Ooh, okay, so king, let's see what his damage is off this. If he ends up with a good hand off his king, that does sort of suck. But I'm going to assume he doesn't. I'm not even going to bother face downing first turn. So he is biting back now. So king, king, so that's 13 damage. That's as much as if a queen successfully landed so far. 2, jack. Okay, it's not awful. I lost 21 life. He's about to lose 15 on the buyback. That's not good for him. The effective life delta here, the effective difference in life is 4 life. Okay. Interesting. I'm just not going to play around that. I want a 7 throw, but I also want to hold on to it for later. I want an 8 throw right now. If he 8 throws, well, okay, whatever. Oh, okay. So, throw. Now I know he has attacks in his hand, I can sort of say, okay, that's great, but you're probably not going to do that again because you realize that the lower our life totals get, the better situated I am. Okay, waste your card. Get knocked down. Sucks for you. Whatever. Okay, consider it. So now I'm going to go for a sort of cheeky little cross-up. I can either search for an ace or I can go for damage if this hits. So now he has to guess or die. Yeah, this is like rule number 1. The most practical damage I can get off a throw is 7 extra. So it's like if you bluff away 7 damage, that's great. You don't have your Joker now for later in the game, when your life total becomes a lot more important. I have the life lead again. It's not as big as I'd like it to be because of that sort of fluky first turn combat. Yep. So since he doesn't have a 10, I can sort of mix up normal him. So 2 beats a 9 block. So I want to go for an ace early, I think. 2k6. I want to have a block in my hand. This is part of hand management. Make sure you at least have one good option left. So 2, 3, 4. Yep, so that's sort of character, not knowledge. Because he thought I could do throw ace ace, which I can't. Ace ace is 2 combo points. ARG throws 2 combo points. So yeah, that's 4. ARG has 3. So he's not allowed to do that. I'd be very happy if he could, but alas. So 11 damage, 1 ace. I'll consider that a profitable knockdown. And he lost a 9. Cool. So now I have my ace block, and I'm going to sort of test him. If he's willing to do that big king thing again, he's still going to be down on life. If he does that huge buyback, and if he doesn't, he has 2 cards left. If he has a faster throw, they might be doing now, try to beat that ace. I can sort of throw him out. I can do throw 6 or throw king. I'll probably do throw king just to keep the block handy in my hand. Actually, no, I have an ace, so I can do throw 6. He knows he has to think really hard now. What he doesn't know right now is that anything but the king is a pretty horrible option. Now, look, there we go, 5. If he happens to have a 7 here, he has to use the 7 early, plus I have a 10. Boom. Counter it. Do you have another 7? Nope. Cool. King. Just like that. Drop him below that 35 life point. Drop him to 35. He's lost 50 life now. Now, he's gone through 3 cards. I still know what 3 of the cards in his hand are, which is King, King, 2. So, I don't know. He does not want to play in that. The ace is the most obvious play for me right now. I'm going to queen. If it happens to play king, queen wins. He plays a throw, try throw out the ace, queen wins. If he tries to do a dodge, well, that sucks. But that's life. Yep, did the throw to try beat the ace. He doesn't have good damage off his dodge outside of his king right now, so the dodge isn't awful. The worst thing that'll happen is he'll do a king-king, and then he won't have the kings back. So this is how you play on a low hand. You sort of poke out throws, and then you eventually try to build back up. 4-card hand for ARG is about the point where I consider him to have some problems, because now he doesn't reliably have everything. But the nice thing about Yomi is the way it works, I still can win any combat, because I still have all 3 of my rock, paper, scissors options. And now I use the ace, because now he knows I've been playing around that ace, but around his knowledge of that ace, so he's going to... Oh, that's questionable. He is losing 10 life now to break even. Well, his options here were, we trade 3 damage for 4, and he has to pop my bubble, and I draw a card, or he loses 10 life. Those were both really bad, but I think giving me the bubble there was smarter. Now he's pretty much lost the game. He has lost a 7, which he didn't have before. He would have played it again against my counterspell. So he doesn't have 7s. He probably has no good throw options, and I win. I have way too much of a life lead on him now. I can just ace with block again. Like, because if he did the 2 and bought it back, he'd at least have more options left in his hand. Let me check if that was the 2 from earlier. I'm pretty sure it was. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Yep, 2 diamonds, so... Okay, now I have my shield up. It's like same situation you were in before, but now you're down a 7, and I think he can safely concede the game now if he really wanted to. Like, he can do the Obscura. Like, now what's he going to do? Okay, I'm just going to play cards. Seriously, like, I don't even have a rhyme or reason to what I'm playing anymore than my gut instinct. The game's over either way. He cannot do... He has to blow up the bubble, so that's going to waste a turn. He's going to be at 6 life if he blows the bubble this very turn. He doesn't have enough cards to mount a comeback. He doesn't have... What? Yep, that's it. Like, seriously, I can just play cards at that point. So again, I'm exploiting the character weaknesses I know JAINA had. This is the keyest element to playing ARG. ARG has no incredible strengths outside of his late game. And the reason his late game is so good is you're playing off the knowledge of what your opponent's able to do. Because my late game is based completely on a 50-50 one-card mix-up. And, oh, it's attached right now. I can't show the card again. Yes, I can. I have this tab open. Ah, ace, that card. So, the 2 sides of that are my primary mix-up. And I will actually read verbatim from my guide. This is an awful thing to do, and I will never do it again. And you'll even talk about how I say JAINA's particularly weak in the early game in the JAINA matchup. Okay, so late game. Notably strong late game cards are my ace and my 10. And my character card. Ace, the 1-card mix-up that can win you the game by itself. Because later in the game, you're likely to know how many aces your opponent has if you keep track of their power phase. I knew he didn't have any. In addition, their smaller deck size makes their discard pile much more valuable information. In this case, a smaller hand size makes his discard pile valuable information. Since the greater the portion of the cards they don't have is known, mixing how many aces they have with the likely contents of the rest of their deck makes your late game reads a lot easier. This is a very important strategy with ARG. Yeah, and he ran out of options. Like, this is just a problem. So, because I know the contents of their hand a lot better, and I know how many aces they have, I know how much damage they can do to me off of a successful read, and I know what their range is, because I know what their options are. So, I'm playing my 1-card mix-up entirely based on those 2 things. So, second reason, simply not dying will lead to a victory. Remember how I said I can basically just play cards when I had Bubble Shield up? I could. Even if he guessed right every single turn, he needs to guess right an inordinately large amount of turns, and he had no options left. Alright, very nice guy, I can tell. He'll get better at some point, I'm sure, but for right now, that was not a terribly difficult game. It was a hard matchup, and I was a stronger player, and he didn't have a whole lot of matchup knowledge. That was sort of going to happen. I mean, no offense to him when I say this, it's just observations. So yeah, simply not dying will lead to a victory, since Hexa Mirkwood's effect is greatly amplified. I've mentioned this many times before, I'll mention it again. That is a late game ability. It's icing damage early game. It's just extra stuff. Late game, it's important. As long as you can keep from making a play directly into your opponent's likely option, your chances of not dying increases significantly. So if I think he's going to do a dodge, I know he's going to do a dodge, and I then proceed to play an ace-ace, I probably deserve to eat whatever he did off that dodge. If I did a throw, or a block, and I just do something that does not die, he loses the dodge, and I deal 2 damage. That's very, very nice. Just don't die late game. That 2 damage becomes useful. So, block and a 0.2 speed attack covers every option in the game. Which technically, block and a 50 speed attack would cover every option in the game, it's just that the ace-ace covers a lot more. And any excess cards, like remember how I was powering away my kings earlier and my 5s, so I didn't need them anymore, can be safely powered away for more aces. Simplifying the mix-up into those two options instead of stretching across all four, block, attack, dodge, throw, makes it less likely you'll play directly into an opponent's hand because you're not opening yourself up as much. You're trying to not die. So if you open yourself up to more options your opponent can play, your not dying becomes significantly more difficult. As mentioned before, both sides of your ace can threaten to seal the game. Ace block because they have to waste a turn, and ace because 18 damage late game, 20 damage if I have the bubble shield up. That's just completely, that's death. I don't even care what happens anymore. You're just sort of dead. Block, block, and block dodge are now concrete combat wins for you since the resulting 2 damage matters much more than the mutual card draw in the late game. So late game, the only cards I'm concerned about having are my aces for that one card mix-up, and my 10 against strong late game abilities. Unstable Power, Geiger's Temporal Distortion, where he can get back his time spirals and possibly just murder me for 70 unjokerable damage. Burst of Speed, so Valerie can cheat away a combat win, do a bunch of damage to me. And Poker Flourish, where Lum doesn't actually have to play Yomi anymore to win. He can just sort of get a bunch of blackjacks with 7 damage at a time and just chunk me to death. So now I have to force them to play against my late game with their combat cards. That is why ARG 10 is so important. And the character card. Your most likely cause of victory in the late game is that box below the character portrait, where you are dealing 2 damage every turn. So that was an example of the flow of ARG's game in the JAINA matchup. In future ladder adventures, I'll probably be playing when there are more people online. So you'll probably see me play a much wider variety of matchups, and you'll probably see me play with a few more of my good cards I didn't really get to show off in this game, because A, the matchup's pretty awful. B, I didn't really have a lot of time to draw through every card in my deck to show you, ooh, this particular application of ARG's King is really good, because I just didn't get a chance to do that. So later you'll probably get to see more interesting plays you can make with ARG, and hopefully Mad King Ladder Adventures will help improve your Yomi, and it will get you to that next level. So if you like this, feel free to subscribe. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com, and you look for the name Mad King Crimson and subscribe there. And I will see you all later.